Well, hello there. Okay, so today we're going to go over my 2040 election prediction video. This is the first video I've actually made for this channel. All the other videos I've uploaded was made for TikTok, and I've just uploaded them here. So I do appreciate it to everyone who's subscribed, everyone who has had conversations with me in the comments. This one's no different, so if you disagree, I mean, I'm sure you will. Because even if you mostly agree, there is at least one thing here you'll probably disagree with. So let me know in the comments what yours is different. Also, before I begin, can we please spread more positivity? This isn't you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. I don't know. I personally don't align myself with the political party. I look at the candidate and then make my decision. I typically agree with Democrats more than Republicans, like the candidates. And I typically agree most with the Green Party candidates. But, the entire Democratic Party is not the same. Joe Manchin is not the same as a senator from California, for example, or Charlie Baker is not the same as a Republican from Wyoming. It's completely different. You can't group everyone in a party with each other. Okay, anyways, let's begin. Oregon, I do think, is going to remain likely. It is currently a likely margin a lot of times. Every once in a while, it's safe, and I do think that it's possible it could be safe. But I do think that Idaho has such a strong influence on, not Idaho itself, but like this region, like this half of the state at least, is, I guess you can't see my mouse, I think I have that off. Well, the entire eastern part of the state is pretty strongly Republican, and I don't think that that's going to change. Montana, I think that it at one point was more competitive than it is now. I think it'll be likely by 2040, which a lot of times it is already, but sometimes it's lean currently. And by currently, I mean like not like directly recently, but anyways, my margins also, by the way, 0 to 1 till 1 to 7 lean, 7 to 15 likely, and 15 or more safe. People's tried to get me to change it, but like that's what I like mine being, so that's what I'm gonna make them. Anyways, Colorado has moved further and further to the left. I do think that it's very possible to be safe by then. I think that New Mexico is going to probably be safe by then as well, just because of the demographic shifts we see in this region of the country, the Sun Belt, that is. But I do think that New Mexico is obviously, at least currently, not as far left as Colorado, but they're very close to each other in a lot of ways. Nevada, I think, will be a battleground state by then. Yeah, some people consider it a battleground state now, and I think right now in 2020, I would consider it a tilt Democratic state. But I think it'll be a battleground state by then. Maybe possibly tilt Republican. Kind of depends on the demographic shifts we see in that area. Right now, I feel like it's kind of shifting very, 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 very slightly to the right as time goes on. But, like I said, it's very, very small like amounts of movement there. So, anyways, Arizona, I think that is going to be either tilt or lean Democratic by then. Some people would get ahead of themselves and say that's where it is now, but I wouldn't say that one election makes it, that we'll see what it does in the future. But I think that it will definitely, Democrats will have the upper hand here. On the TikTok video, I had put lean, but I think it's very possible to be tilt still by then. I don't know. We will see. In Alaska, I do think that that will be a lean Republican state. I do think that a lot of the Republicans that are elected there are kind of distancing themselves from the Republican Party, and it really shows to me where a lot of Alaskans are standing with the Republican Party currently. Now, we will see where the Republican Party changes their presidential platform over time, and, we will see how that goes. But, in 2020, it was one of the closest races, and it wasn't super close there, I guess, but it was one of the closest races they've seen really ever since admitted to the Union, other than 1968 when it went Democratic. Okay, or maybe 1964. I think it was 68. Whatever year LBJ ran, I can't remember. I just looked up the 1900s elections too. Anyways, Kansas, I do think that Kansas will be, I think it's possible to be likely, but I do think it's possible to be lean. You have to remember this is, almost 20 years from now, so a lot of changes will happen over time. If you look at 20 years ago from now, we was seeing Arkansas be the safest Democratic state in the country, and, obviously that was because of Bill Clinton, but I'm Just saying, West Virginia was also a safe Democratic state then, and 20 years ago, California was a safe Republican state. So, you know, a lot of changes happens, and I could be saying this is a Democratic state, but I'm not because I don't think it'll be. I do think we're seeing some demographic shifts there. I do think that it's already shifting at least some to the left. You could argue how much, but I do think that the first district will remain likely. I know it was in 2020, and that was kind of a first for them. And the second district, I do think will be a battleground district. But I do think that that is kind of contingent on how they gerrymander them, because I know that they will, because, you know, a lot of people do. Unless they keep the districts exactly the same. They haven't announced, I don't think, what the next districts will be for 2024, them or Maine. So we will see how those states do. You know, Maine could do that with theirs too. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so with Texas, I do think Texas will be a battleground state by then. I think I could see the argument for it being tilt Democratic, and I could see the argument for it still being tilt Republican. I really don't know how Texas is going to be by then, other than it's going to be extremely competitive. Both parties are going to be vying for it, and one of them could even be leaning still by then, whether it's Republicans still have an upper hand there or Democrats could. We're seeing some demographic shifts there, some population shifts there, and all these things adding up, I do think that it is possible for that. Louisiana, I think, is a very underrated area. I think that it very likely could be lean. I'm going to put it as likely, though. I do think that New Orleans is growing pretty fast at the moment. I do think that Louisiana is seeing some demographic changes with that. You know, New Orleans in particular, and I know some people call it New Orleans. That's not the point, though. You know, New Orleans votes 80% or 90% for the Democratic Party, like between there. Like, that's oftentimes what they vote for Democrats. So we will see how New Orleans grows over time. It has kind of went back and forth. Their population changes. But if New Orleans continues growing the way it is now, I do think that it's possible. It could be slightly more competitive in Louisiana. I do think that Mississippi, a lot of people already say that it's competitive. I don't really see that. I do think that it's not safe a lot of times. I think that it'll be likely by then. I think that it probably will be around 10% or so will be what we see on average by then. But, you know, that does matter and is contingent on the population changes we see. Missouri used to be a bellwether, but with Kansas and some of the changes we're seeing, I really have it between the likely and safe. Because it has moved very far right from where it was, you know, even 12 years ago. Because, you know, in 2008 it was extremely close. Obama almost won it. I think Iowa and Ohio are still going to stay likely. I don't think that it will be between now and then necessarily. Especially Iowa is a very back and forth. But I do think that by then they will solid up more for the Republican Party. Solidify more for that's probably what I should have said. Oh well. Anyways, but I do think, you know, 2024, 2028, we could see the Democrats have a stronger play than we did in 2020. But by 2040, I think that these will strengthen up for the Republicans. Minnesota, this is going to be controversial. It was really close in 2016. And this entire region of the country is shifting further to the right. So Minnesota, I do think, is going to be tilt Democrats. I do think they're still going to have an advantage here. But I do think that we will see it being very close. And I do think that Republicans have a shot here. I think Democrats could win Wisconsin by then. But I don't think it'll be super likely. And that's why I have it lean and not tilt. Okay, so Illinois. I had it as battleground in my other one. I'm going to put it as tilt Democrat. I don't think I used tilt in the other video. Anyways, I do think it'll be tilt Democrat. I do think that it will be a lot more competitive. We're seeing this entire region of the country shifting more and more to the right, and we do see Chicago very stagnant in population growth, and that's, you know, where the Democratic vote comes from there. I do think that it's possible it could still be lean. But I do think that Illinois is going to be more competitive than it is now. So I'm between tilt and lean on this. I'm actually going to do lean just because it's a wider range of numbers that goes up to 7%. I do think it'll be somewhere between like 1 and like 5% maybe. I could see it being. So with Indiana, I do think that Indiana is currently between safe and likely. It has voted Democrat before, and I really honestly that I live in Indiana, and that was the only time in 2008 that I've ever seen a Democrat come to my state and like campaign in my area, and that was the time that Obama won it. Obama and Hillary Clinton both visited Indiana in 2008, and so I think that's why. So I do think that it's possible still in 2040 for Indiana to be likely because we are seeing some demographic changes, and some of the demographics that vote for the Democratic Party, at least in my local community of Kokomo, Indiana, is seeing a lot of population changes from Chicago and Detroit, and it has moved my community more to the left. I don't know that the entire state will, but we do see Carmel, Indiana becoming more urban and shifting more to the left, even though Hamilton County is to the right. We do see Lafayette shifting more to the left, and their population is exploding in Lafayette right now. So I do think that's possible. Virginia, I do think, is going to be safe still. Well, not safe still. I think that it'll move more and more to the left like it currently has. I think North Carolina and Georgia is going to be battlegrounds, and probably Florida really too, honestly. I think South Carolina will be a lot more competitive. I'm going to put it as lean Republican, I think, actually. But I do think that Democrats will have more of a shot in South Carolina by then. I do think that Delaware is going to be likely. It's not, a super urban area. It's already kind of likely in a lot of elections. I do think that New Jersey is going to be likely by then. Just because of some of the population changes we're seeing there, it's actually growing in population less and less each election. And so I think by then it's going to kind of have that effect that the Midwest is having currently. It is already the least safe Republican or Democrat state in the Northeast. So, I guess other than Pennsylvania. So, I do think that with that being said, I do think that Connecticut and Rhode Island really could see it being likely, but I'm going to fill it in as safe. I do think that it will be on the lower end. It actually already in some elections sees likely numbers. So I think I actually will fill those in as likely. Vermont was recently a very strong Republican state, and now it's one of the safest Democratic state in the country. They still elect Republican governors. It's really strange. I think that by then it'll be likely there. I think that New Hampshire is going to be a battleground state. I think that Maine's second is going to be between likely and lean for Republicans. I think that Maine's first is going to be likely for Democrats, and I think that the state at large will be a battleground. Like I said, that kind of depends on if they gerrymander it. They kind of decide how they put the stuff. I've just filled in D.C. That puts Democrats at 229, Republicans at 158, 151 toss-up. Just for the sake of getting rid of tilt, I will do that. Well, really, it could be a battleground even. Anyways, so yeah, I don't like tilts being on there, and so let's just not use tilts. So this is my map for 2040. What is your opinion? How do you think the 2040 map will look? I tried to go a little bit more into detail, but I don't have this channel verified because this isn't my main channel, so I can't upload videos longer than 15 minutes, and we are very quickly approaching that mark. So if you want me to explain to you a specific reason for a specific area, just ask me in the comments. I'll explain it in a comment. You can look at the comments. Maybe I've already answered it from someone else. But some of these states I had pre-filled in because I had uploaded this before and it took like almost 40 minutes to go through every single state. So these are my 2040 thoughts. What is your thoughts? How do you think that the political landscape will shift over time between now and then? Yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.